You're probably asking yourself, Garbro, why the hell would you write a war crime system into your game? And the reason why is it tells your players the stakes and lets them know the impact of their actions. So more or less in this, it's a way for you to see and tell your players, here's the kind of figures you're up against. Is my light working? So say perhaps they're going into battle. Like, oh, you guys are going to be fighting this unit. And they ask, okay, what's the unit done? You're allowed to tell them, well, this unit has a war crime score of 10. And that means a lot. It means they've compacted war crimes up and down and have a reputation. Their war crime score of 10. That's their rep. Additionally, if your players get too froggy, oh, we'll just burn this city down. Oh, we'll just burn the orphanage. And they get a war crime score of, 14 or 12. They know that they're going to be hunted. That's the thing. This is not a war crime table. This is a consequence table. And some players need that consequence. So war crimes. There are normally rules to war. There are a series of handshake agreements between two combative forces that agree on a form of rules. Do not shoot at medics, take prisoners of war and treat them fairly, do not kill civilian targets, etc. These are rather easy things to agree to in a set of morality clauses to make sure the war is clean as war can be, though at times things can go awry. Tempers get the best of soldiers. Someone slips up. Let anger take hold of their heart from some slight. Tension and stress on a timetable makes someone make the wrong choice. Or simply an accident happens, forming the first falling domino that sets forth a cascade of choices that damn souls. These dominoes collide, compound, and soon there is no controlling the stream of choices that cause horrible infractions in the agreement of codes first agreed on at the beginning of the war. True, that war is hell, but it can get so much worse when revenge poisons the well. An eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, blood owed for blood spilled. For each war crime the players engage in, either as an individual, or a unit, or a party, their war crime score will increase, and it can go down. If you just kind of cool out, it's kind of like a GTA score, it'll go down. Of course, their score can go down, but it will stick with it. Like, did you guys kill a bunch of civilians? And I go, oh, and then suddenly it's back on. The score will always be there. It'll simply just get less important in time. Like, think of how all of our war crimes through human history, they happen, but you're not really like and freaking out over like Unit 731 in Japan. You're like, okay, that happened. It was bad. We move on. Do be advised that both the party and their enemies may engage in these war crimes. This does mean that if the party finds and kills an entity with a high enough war crime score, they're likely going to receive a reward of some kind, whether it's a monetary or some kind of boon. So, like, say an enemy unit is using child soldiers. The effect on that war crime will affect your players. If your players use child soldiers, that effect will affect the enemy. So the players can be affected by these war crimes. That's the important bit that a lot of CZs don't understand. These are used to affect your players and affect their enemy. If it's supposed to simulate the horror of war, because sometimes things just don't go the way they should. Sometimes desperation takes precedence over morality or common sense. War is difficult. So this is the war crime score, or high score, as some of the other guys call it. So war crime score of 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So what these do is it kind of shows you where on the shit list you are. So level 6 is like you're getting a slap in the wrist, or like, okay, I see why y'all did this. That's fine. Don't do it again. Level 16 is like, you are being hunted by everyone. You are a war criminal, and no one likes you. Only like the deepest, darkest, most reviled people of society will take you in. And even then, they may still betray you for that huge reward money. And it's kind of in between. Like, one, simply you get flogged. Another one, like, they dispatch bounty hunters. Level 12 is like, they send out military police after you. Or like, the temples for, like, justice will send out temple people after you to come hunt you down and purify you. This is basically the whoopsie doodle chart of you done fucked up, and here come those who are gonna make you pay for your sins. Here they come. That's what this whole thing's about right here. So the war crimes themselves. I'm still working on this, but each war crime does something to or causes an effect. It's like booby traps. Say you're using booby traps. That's going to reduce your enemy's grit score or your party's grit score by each booby trap. So say they set off 3 booby traps. Their grit is now -3 until they can get a long rest or whatever. So booby traps affect the mentality. They wear down and stress out soldiers. That's what booby traps do. Impersonation of enemy forces. Basically, it's a low kind of war crime, but you're technically doing espionage, so your forces won't care as much. But more than likely, if you get caught, you're going to be executed by your enemy forces. So it's not really a big war crime for your side, but for the other side, it's a really big war crime because you're impersonating, you're killing, destroying, etc. Use of poison and poisonous ordnance, so like poison darts, whatever else. It's not really a big war crime, but it's kind of frowned upon. You know what I mean? Improper wartime conduct, like shooting those who are trying to wave a white flag or pretending to surrender, basically just being kind of a fucking dickhead in the battlefield. That's what this covers up. And this is more of a based, not based, sorry, a war a war crime based on just simply building score. It's not really a big modifier for combat or RP. It's one of those things where this one can attach to a lot of other war crimes and pump that score up and fuck you over. Destruction of civilian lodging and property. So this is one that's more of an RP thing where actually it's kind of both. It'll make civilians fear you and you can intimidate them better, but still pretty fucking frowned upon. You know, you shouldn't be burning down homes and killing livestock. So it's kind of one of those. So for instance, this would attach to improper wartime conduct. So basically, so that you're doing this, it goes boop boop, and that's a score of 4. So a lot of these things will time with one another depending on how your CC rolls it. Intentionally directing attack on a non-military, religious, medical, or institutional buildings. This is basically attacking temples, trying to wear down their resolve of civilians. So it'll be like this one, boom, that one, boom, that one, boom. So 2, 4, 6. Now your score is 6 because you're attacking in religious temple, you're destroying civilian property, and you're being a fucking dickhead as a proper military unit. So boom, boom, boom. With one simple mortar drop, you know, I want to attack that temple. And if you so it's like intentionally directing. If you destroy a building with a mortar round, you go, oh fuck, you know, it's only a score of 4. And you go in, you go, hey command, here's what happened. All right, it's a bit different. Intention is a lot of things. Taking hostages, using them as shields. So this is one of those dirty tactics where it's really frowned upon, but desperation can kind of change things. If you have really hardcore intel, like I gotta get this intel out of here, we need to egress. How do we do that? You know, grab those POWs or grab those wounded soldiers, hold them up, and get the fuck out of there. And it's actually mechanical. So each hostage you're holding up to 2 increases your DR by 5. So say you have 2 hostages, now you're DR 10. And the enemy would be less inclined to shoot you. So it's a war crime, but one out of desperation. So say you did it just to do it, you're probably going to get court-martialed. If you're doing it to secure intelligence to help win the war effort or uncover more war crimes or whatever have you, command will go, yeah, okay. You know, they'll kind of go, you know, it's a morality thing. It's not fun, but it's a fun thing for CCs and players to work with. Like, well, you did this, but this is why. Use of flame weapons in civilian areas is more intent, you know. Biological and chemical weapons, mistreatment of prisoners of war, torture or inhumane treatment, engaging in slavery or forced servitude, use of child soldiers. This is one of the ones that build dread. So as you're engaging with child soldiers, like say your party is fighting against another NPC unit that's using child soldiers. Off the bat, your party is -3 grit for that entire battle. And every time they have to kill or maim a child soldier, they gain a stack of dread. So it's building off the oh fuck, they're using kids mentality, and it's going to slowly affect your players. intentionally firing upon and killing medics, racial mutilations, execution of prisoners, and murder of civilians. And down here, most importantly, it says, at no point should a CC allow forced sexual misconduct, let alone sexual war crimes in their game. That is cringe, you nene-ass retard. All right, that is it. That's my stance on that. All this stuff is fine, but do not engage in probably the worst aspect of war crimes. Just don't do it, all right? If you want to do that, go play, like, I don't know, some other fucking retarded game. This game, we know it's a war crime. We get it. But there are very few people who want to play that way, and I personally don't condone it because it's gross. All right? But this is the war crime table, and much like Wikipedia, it'll probably be expanded after a while. I'm still waiting on feedback for a lot of the war crimes. And more or less, it's more going to be like a table here. And it's basically, this is the whoopsie doodle table of penalties of like, well, we just bombed an entire fucking civilian village. Fuck. And then this kicks in. So say like you don't properly, mop up and someone gets loose or someone finds out in your unit and they fragged an entire village. Command's gonna go, pull that fucking unit in here right now. We gotta explain this shit because of course, at the same time, there's a proper military conduct, and then, like, if you're not in a structured military command. So if you're not in a military command, you're playing a mercenary game or even a villain game, it's still going to affect the world around you, just not in a structured military type setting. You know what I mean? But yeah, so that's the latest thing I'm working on. I'm currently going in, and I'm redoing all the jobs. I'm redoing all the races. I got bit more race blurbs. I'm going to add more spells, and then here next, I'm going to be going through all the skills, and then all the weapons, and adding more of those, and streamlining those weapons, as well as the rules. But yeah, the war crime chart has been asked for a while now, and I think this is the best way to implement a war crime chart and a war crime mechanic. So yeah. Thanks for giving to the Kickstarter. We're at like 15K. It's fucking insane. But yeah, so that's how that's going to work. I'll see you later.